I was so excited to get my pilot's license. I'd spent a year and a half training, and you go through all the actual in flight, in the plane training, so many hours, 40 or 50 hours, whatever it was, and another 20 or 30 hours in the ground, learning all about airplanes, all about the rules and regulations, the federal aviation regulations, I think they were FARs. And it took me about a year and a half to get my license, and I was so excited. So I remember thinking about 6 months afterwards, let me take my wife and our good friends and go on a little trip down to Ocean Shores, which I live in Seattle, and it's about a 30-minute flight away from here, about 2.5 hours by car, maybe 3.5 hours. That's the thing about flying is it cuts the travel time by about 90%. So we decide to go down there, and I'm just so thrilled to show them Mr. Pilot here. And I learned all these lessons and how to be a good pilot, a safe pilot, probably more than anything else. We take off in the early evening. It's going to be a 30-minute flight. We're heading, I even remember the radial. It was 228 was the direction that we went on the 360-degree circle that we follow with the compass, if you will. So we're heading down 228. This is very important as I look at all the gauges on the plane. So many things tell you how to navigate and communicate with the different frequencies, with towers, with different people that you communicate with in the air. So we're heading down, all excited again. We're going to have this dinner and we're going to land down in this little strip of a landing strip that's in the middle of a golf course down by the ocean, place called Ocean Shores. So we're about to get over the top of it, and I look down, and now I can't see it all of a sudden. And a storm has come in from the ocean, and we're completely covered in fog and clouds and everything. It's just like being in your car and having all the snow packed all around on the windshield. You can't see a thing. And I remember my instructor had said to me so many times, listen to everything that I've said. And one of the things is I'm going to warn you about something called spatial disorientation. It's when you are disoriented and you can't tell what up and down is and left and right. Another version of that is vertigo, when you get dizzy and you can't get up from down, as I say, left from right. So I remember what he said. In fact, he even used the word grateful back then. He said, you're going to be grateful that you paid attention to this particular lesson because someday it could save your life. Little did I know it would be like 6 months later after I got my license that it ended up saving my life. So I do a 180 because he said, if you get into the weather, turn around, go back to where you were because you know at least that weather was better. So I turn around a 180 and now I'm on radial 048. I remember it so clearly, 180 degrees back, heading back towards Seattle. And my friends are all excited and they were like, well, what are we doing? I thought we are going to be having, our dinner down here at the ocean. I said, no. And I'm really trying to call Seattle Center as one of the people you call to communicate with, to get some vectors, to get out of this weather. And as I turn around and I'm heading back to 048 radial, I'm pulling back on this on the yokes. I'm scared, but I'm trying to pay attention and making radio calls. And I look over and the turn and bank indicator on the plane. Here's the plane going along. The turn and bank indicator shows I'm in a 60-degree bank turn to the right. And you know what happens if you go from 0 to 30 to 60 to 90. I don't have to tell you what happened to John Kennedy Jr. when he flipped over and went into a spiral and a spin. And that's what's happened. And I wasn't even paying attention. So I remember what my instructor, Jay, said. Get your plane straight and level. So I turned on the heading bug. It brought the plane from a 60-degree bank, as I said, like this, all the way back to straight and level. And guess what? I thought I was upside down. I had a severe case of spatial disorientation, otherwise known as vertigo. And I remember thinking those words, believe your instruments. He said, always believe your instruments. One is driven by a gyro, one is driven by ram air, another one is driven by electricity, another one is driven by a vacuum. They're not all going to lie at the same time. And they all said straight and level, but I thought I was upside down. And I remember thinking, you are panicking. I remember once when I learned how to scuba dive, I had a real panic thing when I couldn't get the thing in the regulator into my mouth and water's coming in and you recognize, you breathe all of a sudden fast. You recognize you're panicking. It can be one of the best things that can save your life. So I tried to take some deep breaths and I'm still trying to call Seattle Center. I can't raise them, but at least I'm straight and level. And I realize I am really in deep trouble. If I mess this up, we're all dead. and none of us would be, including me. And they don't even know to this day how close we came to losing it all. So now I'm scared. I'm pulling back on the yoke, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 feet. And then the stall horn goes off. Sounds like that. And that means the plane's about to stall. And when that happens, it can't fly anymore because the angle of attack has increased too much where it can't lift the plane. And then the plane falls to one side, spiral, spin, down, death spiral. And you don't have to hear what happens after that. You can figure that out. So I pushed the nose down. It seemed like forever, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, at 10,000 feet above ocean shores and Hoquiam, where we were, we came out of the clouds. And I remember I still couldn't reach Seattle Center, 122.8, I think it was. But I could see in the distance Seattle. I could see all the lights and the buildings and so forth. I have never been so relieved in my life. And as we kept, I said, you know what? I think we're going to head back to Seattle and have dinner there. This isn't going to quite work. And I'm still scanning the instruments across the whole dash, still trying to call Seattle Center, can't reach them, but at least I can see the buildings in the distance that are all brightly lit. And I knew I was heading back to Seattle. And as I kept trying to control my breath and get more relaxed, I remember thinking those words of believe your instruments, and it saved my life. And I think the biggest message out of this, because spatial disorientation kills people almost every single day in helicopters and airplanes across the country. I see reports on them all the time in videos, is that the biggest message: believe your instructor, believe your teachers, believe your professors, believe your mentors, the people that are trying to help you in this life. Listen to them and don't give them that sort of, yeah, whatever you say, I got it figured out. Because here's a case for me: by listening to Jay Diddy, was his name, saved my life. Make such a big difference. So take that message away. Listen to the people that can impact you. Consider the source. Think about where they're coming from. They know a lot more than you do. Listen to them. It could save your life. It sure saved mine.